Hey there, welcome back. As promised, here's the other build I want to showcase. It uses Demon Stitcher, Blightwell, and just a whole slew of things that I'll go over in the mechanics section of the video. But I do want to roll the gameplay first, since that's what people typically want to see. Gameplay probably won't look that strange at first glance. Lightning conduit, in the video you'll see me go over, it's all tier 16 content or higher. The Crucible has the bosses in the Crucible that I do in this video have 50% more HP, to give you an idea of how much DPS it has. It's higher DPS and it's much higher defense than the last build that I just showcased. This actually is quite powerful. You'll see me face tank Eater and face tank pretty much everything. There's no reason to not face tank most things. There's a couple things in the game that you don't want to face tank. But for the most part, the regen on this build, or recharge on this build, is so high that it doesn't really matter. So, if you want to skip to a part in the video, it should be labeled into chapters, so skip to wherever you want, but otherwise, this one is the gameplay one. Enjoy!
tansseja ovat disco, jytä ja viittaamiset, mitkä tuottavat erikoisesti vaikeuksia aikuisille, johtuen tästä liikkeestä. Tässä täytyy päästä oikeaan disco-fiilinkiin, että tämä onnistuu. Polvet siis menevät eteenpäin, lantia menee taakse ja suoraksi, kädet alaspäin ja hieman eteen, hartiat liikkuu ja pää liikkuu. Tämä on siis tärkein perusliike diskotanssissa. Seuraava on vasen jalka sivulle. 2, 3, 4. Nostamme reilusti polvia ja nostamme jalkoja. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Lisäämme tähän kanta-askeleet. 1, 2, 3.
Alright, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the build and how it works, how it functions. This is the mechanics section, so I'll be covering all the stuff that's going on here. So, first and foremost, you might have noticed from the gameplay section of the video that my life was going crazy. And life's going crazy on this build because we are an Eternal Youth build, which makes it so that your life recovery, or energy shield recharge, is applied to your life instead of your energy shield. And that, in combination with a couple other things here, we've got Demon Stitcher, which sacrifices life to gain that much energy shield when we cast a spell, as well as Coruscating Elixir, which takes away all of our life and then applies it as energy shield over 2 seconds, although that's not actually applying in this build because we're getting rid of regen. But so what that results in is, and we're using a very high percentage Demon Stitcher, this one's 24%, and when we cast, you can see our HP is going all the way down to the bottom and coming all the way back up almost immediately. And the reason it's coming back almost immediately is because we're using Blightwell. This is a double corrupted one, or double implicit corrupted one, and Blightwell in combination with some of the new tattoos that are particularly good for this, the energy increase energy shield recharge rate. So we've got 20, 40, 80, 100, 110 right there, and then a couple more over here, 140 there, and then we've got we're utilizing discipline, which is also giving another 30%. So all in all, quite a bit of energy shield recharge, and if you look here, you'll see that our life recharge per second all the time is 9,000. And you'll also notice that we have quite a bit of life and energy shield on this build, and that's just using a staff. Up until I'm level 91 right now, up until this point, I was utilizing a Dark Seer and Parapisha. Now, those are perfectly good to level with. They were still good, and I had about 11,000 energy shield using this combination, but I wanted more damage. That's what it came down to. There are so many layers of defense here that we'll now cover that it just isn't necessary to go all the way up to 11k energy shield. So first off, since we're trickster, we get a bunch of inherent defenses. We have one step ahead for an action speed of 108 that can't be changed. We have Heartstopper, which is a huge damage mitigator, 40% less damage over time, 40% less damage from hits, cycling on a 5-second counter. We've got Escape Artist, which is the main reason we can reach such ridiculously high levels of both life and energy shield. And we're using Soul Drinker, which is giving us another layer of defense here, because we are using Energy Shield Bleach as an additional layer of topping off our energy shield. So there's a couple layers of defense there. Now on top of that, so because we are using the Escape Artist node, our Sadist Garb here, which is a decent Sadist Garb, and it does have an implicit for an extra flask gain on charge, since we are using Trader, if you notice, for maintaining our coruscating elixir, which I'll go over in the gear section of this video. I don't want to cover this gear too much, but I do want to cover the defenses. So the Sadist Garb here gives over 2,000 evasion and over 460 energy shield, and with Escape Artist, we get an additional energy shield per 6 evasion rating. So this is just a ton of energy shield altogether. On top of that, we're using the Vertex because, again, Escape Artist in combination with a high hybrid item like this yields just a ton of evasion and energy shield. So we're sitting at almost 13,000 evasion, which is a nice additional, pretty much free layer, another layer of defense that we didn't have to really invest in at all. We're not going around the tree and grabbing extra evasion or anything like that. Now, another really cool, this is one of my favorite interactions of the build, Shavronne's Revelation that has a defense modifier, so, catalyst put on it to get up to 20%, will give you additional 300 energy shield. It gives you an extra up to 75 intelligence and a ton of flat mana regen, which is what we need for a ridiculously high cast rate build like this. This 40 flat mana is I don't know if you could do this build without it. And the reason that this ring isn't normally used by most people, is because the downsides are big. The downside is you cannot recharge or regenerate energy shield. Well, because we took Eternal Youth, we're not recharging energy shield, we're recharging life. So Shavronne's still works. Now, unfortunately, the regenerate energy shield part does get rid of any kind of passive regeneration you might have, but all of that pales in comparison. We just want to scale up this one value. On top of that, even though it says you cannot recharge or regenerate energy shield, there's nothing about your leech. Ghost Reaver here, also the downside is that you cannot recharge energy shield. Nobody cares because we're recharging life. It converts it. And so it's no longer recharging energy shield, it's recharging life, and therefore we can still take Ghost Reaver and still use recharge. And so Ghost Reaver in combination with Soul Drinker in combination with Eternal Youth is giving us a massive amount of defense, a massive amount of energy shield all the time. When we are actually casting on things, and one of the tattoos that I'm using here is the one that gives you basically free Onslaught every time you hit something. So we have Onslaught, and then we also have Arcane Surge because it's linked to our Lightning Conduit. When everything's said and done, we have 6 casts per second. 6 casts per second when you're taking 25 or 24% of 4.7k, you're getting back that comes out to like roughly 1.2 thousand times 6. So we're getting back like 7,200, 7,500 HP per second. As energy shield, we're getting back that much energy shield if we're casting. So the name of the game should be, don't stop casting. If you want to maintain your highest levels of defense, just don't stop casting. Now, on top of this, we're also running Arctic Armor because we are standing still a lot, and it's a great additional layer for that. And I already mentioned that we take Discipline. So that's our defenses, and those defenses all together are just enough to take on almost everything in the game and face tank it, which is great. We don't need to invest in additional max elemental resist. I don't even have, I'm not even over 0 chaos resistance yet on this build. It hasn't mattered yet. So that covers the defense side of the mechanics. As far as the offense goes, what we're trying to do is we go around and we grab all the cast speed that we possibly can. We're not grabbing much of it on the tree. Soul Drinker has a nice 20%. We've got Onslaught for 1 point. That's definitely worth it. I take these nodes here just because I was traveling by them, and I'll probably get rid of them in the long run. But I did need the shock you inflict spreads to other enemies within a radius of 10. And I'll go over it in the gear section, but Can of Coolamac also has 56% increased cast speed, which is huge. So that's most of our offense right there, other than obviously the gems that I'll cover in the gem section and the passives that increase damage. And but there's nothing crazy going on, no weird mechanics for getting damage. We just get. But one nice thing is that we do get to take Pain Attunement because we are low life. We're using Discipline along with Arrogance to maintain our low life status. There's no reason not to. And so we get a free 30% more multiplier there. So that does allow us to maintain a pretty high level of damage, which is nice. So other than what I already covered, the mechanics work like this with the build. It's a normal Lightning Conduit build. You teleport around, you use Orb of Storms in order to constantly apply shock to things. Now, you'll notice that the color of my Orb of Storms changed there because I actually have 2 setups of Orb of Storms, which again, I'll go over in the gem section. But the reason I have 2 setups is because one of them is being automatically triggered in my Can of Coolamac. And that way, so that when I'm sitting next to a mob and I'm casting, I don't have to stop to recast Orb of Storms, because the Orb of Storms can only strike 30 times. And we go through 30 casts in 5 seconds. And because we go through 30 casts in 5 seconds, this will be, if we have it on a 4-second trigger, we never have to stop casting. We can just keep going, which is just very nice quality of life. You don't have to have it like this, but it will improve your damage immensely and take away any headache with the build. Normally now, we're just going around, but because that's on a trigger, you can't manually cast that one. You need to have a second 4-link setup just for going around and being able to like go from pack to pack and instantly cast it again, like wherever you need to, whenever you need. But when you get to a tough single target, you just right-click on them and the other one comes out and just go to town. That's the main mechanics of the game, the build. I mean, otherwise, you know, obviously you want to lay down sigil, and right now I'm just manually casting my conductivity on enemies. That's pretty much the mechanics as they're happening. The build is not particularly optimized at the moment. I just hit 91. It was a fairly exciting build. I want to get the video out. I've covered these mechanics in pieces before, but not exactly in a build like this. So, yeah. If to see the details on exactly how the gems and the gear work, just visit those sections. Thank you. In this section, we're going to be covering the gems. So, if we take a look, starting with the Kanakula here, we've got Inspiration. We are using Inspiration a couple times because there's no reason not to. It's a great support. It gives us critical strike chance and damage, and importantly, lowers the mana cost of this build, which is very high. We've got Overcharge because the whole point of the Orb of Storms on this build is to apply shock. And the way that Lightning Conduit works is the higher the shock, as in the higher percentage the shock, the more damage the Lightning Conduit does. So, as a result, we definitely want Overcharge here in order to boost the shock value as high as possible. We are using Anomalous Orb of Storms because that gives us 2 additional targets on the Orb of Storms. I've just got added lightning damage, lightning penetration, and innervate in here for the last 3. There's probably a better thing, a better support here to use than both added lightning damage and innervate. They kind of do the same thing here. You probably don't need to boost the flat that much, especially when we are using Sigil of Power and Wrath. But in any case, moving on, our Demon Stitcher has our setup with Frostblink, Conductivity, Sigil of Power, and Increased Duration. Our Vertex has Overcharge, Lightning Damage, Controlled Destruction, and Orb of Storms. This is our pack clearing Orb of Storms that we use every time we jump around. In our Sadist Garb is our main setup for Lightning Conduit. Right now, I'm just using normal level 21, no anomalous or anything like that. We've got a level 21 faster casting for an additional 50% increased cast speed. And again, we definitely want to use faster casting here, not Spell Echo or anything else, because Demon Stitcher specifically only works for individual self-casts. So Spell Echoes, it doesn't work on the Echo. It only works for the actual individual self-casted spells. Next, we've got Elemental Focus. We've got Arcane Surge. Anomalous Inspiration on this one because I kind of wanted the increased critical strike chance. And Energy Leech support, which is helping to boost our Energy Leech even higher. And Energy Leech support is just a great all-around support. It gives a ton of damage on top of Leech. And lastly, we've got our boots where we're putting Arrogance with Discipline. Notice that they are on their own link. We definitely do not want Arrogance also supporting Wrath, as we can't do that. Wrath is too much of a support, and we don't have any, currently I don't have any increased efficiency on this build for reservation. So, and then we've got Arctic armor as well down here. So that covers all the gems. The only other thing to note is that I was playing around with Righteous Fire on this build. If you took a little bit of fire resist, it would be no problem, especially because of Heartstopper. Heartstopper really assists with Righteous Fire. But for instance, if I just stick this on real quick, and you notice there's Righteous Fire, you see it ticking away at my health because I only have 75, but it's absolutely no problem to sustain. This is pretty much a free. Now, you'll notice it just turned itself off too, which you probably have never seen happen on any other build, honestly. The reason that happens is that Coruscating Elixir takes us down to 1 HP. Well, when it takes us down to 1 HP, Righteous Fire automatically comes off. Except it doesn't always. Now here, I'll put it back on and we'll do this again. Let's see how long it takes this time for it to come off. And the reason I think this happens is I think that when your life recharge gets so high that the game, oh, there, it finally came up. You can tell it was definitely not the same duration. It took 2 ticks of our Coruscating Elixir that time. It doesn't always take off the Righteous Fire, which is kind of an interesting mechanic all on its own. It tells you that if you can get the server tick rate with your life recharge high enough, you could potentially be using Coruscating Elixir all the time with Righteous Fire, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if anybody's ever messed with that. But in any case, that's the gem setup. Next will probably be the gear. Thanks. Hey there, now we're looking at the gear section of the video. To begin with, we'll just go left to right. We've got our Canaculamak, and you'll notice that this one specifically has lightning damage, cast speed, and trigger a socketed spell on use. Now, the trigger a socketed spell is pretty much the entire reason I went with this. Obviously, there's higher damage options than Canaculamak, but none of them are going to have a 4-second cooldown triggerable socketed spell. So that's why I went this way. It's just a very nice quality of life, never having to worry about casting on single targets, that Orb of Storms. So, you know, there is you don't have to go with this variant of the staff. However, you can get one that instead of lightning damage has flat spell damage, and that one actually comes with mana regen, which would be better. So actually, I recommend that you go with that variant of it, to be honest. Next, we've got a Vertex. This is just a plain one right now. You can get them so cheap on the market that have corruptions, and you'll notice I don't even have mine enchanted yet. So right now, this is as plain Jane as you can get. Pretty straightforward though, just a lot of evasion and energy shield. That's why we're using it. We've got a Sadist Garb here that I just went on the market and bought this one for like 3 divine or something. Just has a ton of evasion rating and energy shield. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for very high, preferably energy shield first and then evasion rating second as priority. Now, what would be perfect is if you could get one with a nice high life roll as well, but then you're cutting into your defenses to do that. So, you know, do it at your own risk there. We've got Shavronne's Revelation. I covered in the mechanics video, or part of the video, why this is so cool in the build. It's a very rarely used item because of its downside of not being able to recharge or regenerate energy shield, which seemingly defeats the purpose of the upside of having plus 300 maximum energy shield, except in cases like this. Like I said in that section of the video as well, this one has Callus applied to it to get up to that 300 maximum energy shield, and it specifically needs to be in this left socket. I've got a Blightwell that is double corrupted. There's a bunch of different options you could go with here. I went with one that has discipline effect as well as the global defenses, which is a nice, global defenses increases both our energy shield and our evasion. so that's nice. I applied Tranquility to it because Tranquility gives Transfiguration of Soul, and we are grabbing a ton of Energy Shield on the tree, so that's a nice damage boost. Honestly, the best version of this would be one that has very high increased Energy Shield recharge. That's #1 priority. But then also gives, and they're very cheap. Nobody uses this item, so you can get awesome double corrupts for nothing. You can get one with +1 to curses, and then have a corrupt demon stitcher, which is also incredibly cheap because nobody uses that. You could a corrupted demon stitcher that has like elemental weakness on hit, so then you could get an additional huge damage boost from that. That's what I would recommend. But any good combination of corrupts works here. Just definitely prioritize that Energy Shield recharge though if you need to. We're using a rare ring here. In this case, this one has just a lot of life, a lot of cast speed, some cold. This is a terrible ring now that I'm looking at it. It's not great. It's just one I had sitting around. It fits the build. And then a pair of boots that is filling out our dex requirement and giving us just some resistances. That's all. It's also got some nice damage leached on life if I've killed recently. We're using a Stygian Vice. Again, we're just filling out our resistances with this. This one has a ton of resistances. I think I rolled this myself. Their Stygian Vices are very easy to roll, not hard at all. We're using several Hypnotic Eye Jewels on the build. This one is just life, energy shield, lightning, increased effective lightning elements, and then the rest of our lightning resistance we need. And then our Demon Stitcher. Now, I've got a couple pairs that are double corrupted that I'm waiting to use because they don't have quite as high values of all the other values. But just looking at the stats, I mean, honestly, Demon Stitchers are amazing. It's just that people don't normally use them because the whole sacrifice life for energy shield is such a hard thing to utilize. But if you ignore that, getting the additional 120 life, 120 energy shield, 20% cast speed is all awesome on its own. And like I said, nobody uses this item, so you can get a perfect double corrupt of anything. I have one that has spell, crit chance, and plus frenzy charge sitting in the bank. And if you wanted, at any time, you could take off Heartstopper, go into Swift Killer. That's 3 additional frenzy charges. So as soon as you figure out how to fit frenzy generation into this build, you could be running around with 6 frenzies all the time with 300% of their normal charge duration at that. So that's all of the equipment here. The only other stuff to mention is, well, first, we're using that coruscating elixir. You definitely want the quality on it and to use when charges reach full so that it's always being used. The reason that we need to use this coruscating elixir is chaos damage. This build, look, I mean, we're going down to 1 HP constantly. We'd be dead in a heartbeat if it was before something stopped chaos damage from going to our health. Coruscating elixir is the best way of doing that. I mean, there's no way around it, really. You know, there's other items in the game, but then you've got to go with like Shavronne's wrappings or something. And if you go with Shavronne's wrappings, then you're not going to be able to leverage the whole reason that we went, well, one of the big reasons we went Trickster, which was to get a crap ton of defenses. And, there's some other ways, like going Templar and going, I'm sorry, Templar, but going with, there's other ways of potentially reaching 100% of chaos damage does not penetrate energy shield, but this is the best way, in my opinion. You take coruscating elixir, you get the trader on a brutal restraint to Babala, put it on, get rid of 2 or 3 of your flask slots, you're good to go. And with that, I believe that's it for the gear. The only other things are, every Hypnotic Eye Jewel in this build is pretty much the same. Energy shield, life, lightning, increased effective lightning elements. We want that to get that lightning element up as high as we can reasonably. And of course, we've got the Warrior's Tail up here to give 200% and increase energy shield recharge in order to get that energy shield recharge as high as we can. And we've got some more tattoos over here as well. Now, like I said, I'm currently at like 9,000 life recharge. And at our current cast rate, it wouldn't make sense to invest more than this right now because we cannot we are currently recharging enough to account for all of our casting. So you just have to do the math and keep that in mind, you know, balance it out. But that's it for this section of the video. This section of the video is for the skill tree, passive tree. As I haven't been as good at staying in my lane in each section of the video so far, so you've already seen parts of this, but we are trickster on this one. Right now, I'm spec'd into Heartstopper, one step ahead. Escape Artist and Soul Drinker. You can see, just by looking at it real quick, what we're doing. We are going around and grabbing all the energy shield and life that we can. That's pretty much the name of the game here. So we're going around, we got energy shield, energy shield, energy shield, energy shield, energy shield, you know. Come down, we grab the life, go up, we've turned this into tattoos for energy shield recharge rate. Come down, more life energy recharge, or energy shield. Come up here, more energy shield. We grab Ghost Dance because why not? It's perfect for us. I didn't even talk about this, I'm realizing now, in the defense layers. Ghost Dance is yet another defensive layer that this build has. That's amazing. We grab Ghost Reaver, and we grab the hybrid nodes up here. Now, the hybrid nodes are the most important thing on the whole tree for this build. We want every hybrid cluster that we can possibly get. We come down, we grab Pain Attunement because we're always low life. It's perfect for us. We grab Life and Energy Shield. We've got a Hypnotic Eye Jewel here that I already covered in the gear section. This is kind of, you know, jewels are kind of both passive, tree, and gear. So all of them are about the same. We come down, we grab more Energy Shield. We come down here, we grab more life. We go to the left, we grab Eternal Youth. We make a turn up by the Witch. We grab another life cluster here. We grab the Energy Shield Recharge cluster here because it's just more Energy Shield Recharge rate. It's great for us. We grab more Energy Shield here. Come over, we grab more life over here. Then we grab more Energy Shield up here. Now, we grab our first damage nodes to speak of, this little cluster here. We come around, we grab more life. We come up, we've turned this into tattoos for energy shield recharge rate, and then we've utilized a warrior's tail in order to boost those up to 200%. And then we grab the entire lightning mastery cluster at the top of the tree. The 50% increased effect of lightning elements is huge for this build, being a lightning conduit build. That's pretty important. The other side, not as important, but I'm still in leveling mode, so this tree is not super optimized. We do have Tranquility from our Blightwell. Tranquility is one of the ways that we're utilizing all of this energy shield that we're grabbing on the tree for damage, being that it turns 30% of it into damage, so we get a nice chunk there. If we were able to take, like, say for instance you wanted to invest in turning more of your intelligence nodes into energy shield recharge to the point that you could get rid of the Blightwell, if you did that, you could grab something like the amulet that lets you anoint a whole bunch of other things, and then you could grab, the anoint like Tranquility that does the same thing but for health, because we're grabbing a ton of health too, so that one will give us a lot of damage as well. Other than that, this is where the tree is at the moment. There's definitely optimizations that could be made here, like I said, but right now it's pretty good. Thanks. All right, well, thanks for watching. That covers pretty much the whole build. If you have any questions, feel free to put them down below. Like I said, I actually have two other characters, two other builds. I don't know if I'm going to make videos for them because I don't know about their effectiveness yet. Both of them are in their 70s or low 80s, and I do not have the gear or other things where they need to be. One of them is really cool. I really hope that it gets to the point that I want to make a video about it because the interactions are very cool there. But like I said, I'm not going to promise that without knowing the actual effectiveness of the build. I don't just put random meme builds up here that don't work. Also, like I said before in my other video, I've got a hideout I'm excited about. Hope to give the community here in not too long. I've been working on it since last league, actually, so hopefully that'll be done soon. And feel free to... Oh, I don't think I did a shout out for my guild in the last video, so I'll do one now. I'm in Nito's guild. You've probably seen some physical... If you're seeing my videos, you've probably seen his videos. You're either here because you're in the guild already, or you caught me on PoE Ninja or somewhere else, or you're just into Theorycraft and need interactions. And so you probably already know of Nito, you know, feel free to reach out on the Discord or anywhere else. It's a really friendly group of people. They're always active in the chats, always discussing interactions. If you like these videos, you probably like it as a community, to be honest. It's one of the only communities I know of that are into this sort of thing in Path. So, anyways, thanks for watching, and catch you next time.